Hello everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. You're taking a look here at the Airbus A340 from Tolis, and we're lifetime live weather on the the Northern Marianas, the islands, in this particular case, Guam. Sure you'll have heard, if you've ever heard any Vietnam veteran talking about their experiences, they almost for sure stopped off at this place on their way to country, or on their way back to the real world, as that's how they called it. In any case, that's enough history today, because we're in lifetime live weather, sun just coming up, and we're going to take it for a spin. So no messing around, no flight plans. We're just going to see how we go. Ground power on, battery and APU battery on, cruise supply on, arm the emergency lights. Smoke in signs on. We'll put the nav lights on, and then we'll get a start with the nav systems. 1, 2, 3. Turn all the fuel pumps on. A big plane means lots of fuel tanks, and like that, we're almost ready. So a quick glance down here, and our tablet should also be repeated there, which it is. Fantastic. The only other thing I'm bothered about loading information is giving ourselves... I don't want to have too much cargo, because again, we're just sort of messing around. Try and keep it realistic. We'll have something... I say realistic. By realistic, I mean you're not going to have loads of passengers on board if you're just messing around in an A340. I guess in real life you'd hardly have any, but whatever. The fuel is the thing that we're kind of concerned about. 31,000 pounds of fuel is going to be plenty. Look how much, or rather how little fuel that is. Look how much this can carry. 335,000 pounds of fuel. That's brushing up right up against some of the largest 747. Which incidentally, this aircraft was built to rival back until they realised, oh, nobody wants to fly in big planes anymore. But that being said, let's go with this. We'll apply those loads. We'll apply that block fuel. And with that, I'm going to see if I can make the rest of it go without even referring back to that. Usually you'd refer that for your takeoff speeds. Let's see if we can make it happen. So we currently find ourselves at Guam. As we've said, clear out the MC. So let's load it here. Again, I'm not going to follow any specific procedures. We're just going to mess around. PGUM. Papa Golf Uniform Mike. In we go. Airports 10-9. There we are. We'll set that to night mode, seeing as it's, I guess, kind of night for the... well, for a few more minutes anyway. All right. In it. PGUM. Destination, well, PGUM, but we'll, if we feel like touch and goes or anything anywhere else, we're just going to do it. Again, part of this is just to see, can you just mess around with this and make it work? Passenger numbers, I can't remember exactly what we said. It was about half full. I'm just going to go with 200. Not that it matters too much, but on this particular Airbus, the number of passengers you put into the little McDo thing down here actually automatically controls the packs on board. You know, the air conditioning system. The more passengers, automatically the packs are going to work a little harder. So there is that aspect to it. I'm not really sure it stimulates very much in X-Plane, although I think if you switch it between min and max, you'll hear a difference with the packs, assuming they're running. All right, cost index for 44, which is going to be quite high, because once you're over above about 35, the difference between 35 and 100 is far less than the difference between like 0 and 35 for whatever reason. Cruise height, again, we're just going to be messing around. We'll put 11,000 just so that we're above 10. IRS in it on ref, roger that. Winds request from the data link, that's fine. Leave everything else as is. And so flight plan, as soon as we don't have one, the only thing I'm going to put in is to try and line up which runway, and that's going to depend on the weather. 8 is there, 119.0. Let's also hit up the data link. I'm sure they added this a while ago. Airline operators. What we got here? Weather ATIS, PGUM. Let's get the METAR, because that's usually the one that works, in my experience, on any of these data links. Received messages, and then of course with depart arrive being the same, we've actually got a double message there for the same. But look at this, it works. Winds 060 at 8 knots, that's the important one there. Altimeter's 2992, so that's the standard. So let's 2992, and the winds being, what did we say, 060 at 8. So if we take another look at this, that means ordinarily we'd depart off 6 left and right. No way am I backtracking all that way. It's a 12,000 foot runway. I'm satisfied with that little bit of wind that we can make it off 24 right, which is what we're going to do. And so departing 24 right, there's no SID. I fancy that. You watch it, not supposed to be used for departures, this one. Never mind. Again, just going as we go, not following any procedures at all. Occasionally get a comment from someone saying that I didn't follow a specific procedure or something, which is not intending to, unless I state otherwise. All right, I'd just like to go with how I go. I must own about 50 modules in total across a few different flight sims. It would be kind of difficult for me to really follow the procedure on them all unless I was to laboriously go through the checklists, and I know some people do that, but they're also still on stream an hour after hitting go, not having moved, and so, you know, swings and roundabouts in that regard. All right, so there we go. That's that. No further waypoints. I guess I could just put one down that leads me towards the next island, and happens to be NDB beacon by the name of Saipan, and the code for Saipan is SN. So SN, boom, and it's going to be this one, and that's it. All right. We're not going to complete anything else, so that's that done. Radio's going to leave that on automatic in it. Page 2. Grab this info from here, and then we should be about ready to go. And in fact, let's get APU master on. Get the signs on. And I think we've waited long enough. Indeed, we have. APU can boot. All right, so zero fuel. Looks like 470.4 with a 0 CG of 23.7, and we're blocking off with 34.8. See how long it takes the 4 engines to chew through that. And again, I didn't want to set up this takeoff performance thing because I've done it every single time, and I just want to see what happens if we don't. I assume it's still going to want some information, and I'm just going to make it up. And we'll see if that impacts anything. So let's go 120. We'll rotate, because we're relatively light, on 130, and then V2 140. Transition out. Usually it's going to be on the information for the airport. Certainly if there's a departure. We do have a departure here, but it looks like it's only for 6 right and left. Again, without reading the bump, I'm sure it's going to say something about not being able to depart off the other end. Let's see, do we have anything here at all? I don't want to read all the different pages to try and find out just a certain piece of information in the grand scheme of things. Isn't going to affect us too much anyway, so I'll tell you what. Let's just keep it at 5,000. Oftentimes the default is correct, although it does depend on the aircraft. Takeoff shift, well, we're not going to shift at all. We're going to use the full Lemmstein as we're at this end. Flaps, let's go. I'll tell you what, we'll go flaps 2 and THS. And this is always based on, I think, where the CG is. It's usually something like up. And without doing the numbers, I don't know, so I'm just going to roll with up 02. Flex temp. Let's go 45. and thrust reduction acceleration. So this is like, you know, your noise abatement stuff. Let's roll with that. Let's pretend. So if we're 300 feet, if I recall, yeah, 305. So if we add 1,000 onto that, let's thrust reduction at 1305, and then so we're knocking about 500 feet off to make less noise, but then we're not going to accelerate until we're higher, and so we get away from the Earth a bit quicker. And in theory, that is your so-called noise abatement style takeoff. And so let's just up that a bit. I don't know, 25. There we go. Engine out acceleration, we'll leave that as is. And with that, then let's see if we can make it happen. All right. Getting lighter and lighter all the time. Looks like a nice day out here in the Northern Marianas, and we'll see what there is to see. Never been here. I've been here on the DCS World map. It's a free one, actually, the Marianas one, but... And there we go. Looks like the nav system's just aligned there. Managed to see it shifting us into position, which is nice. GPS primary on here. And that means that we're good to go. So legs your side, speed my side. Let's plan the push. Runway's just down here.
Ground to cockpit, plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
We're ready.
Ground to cockpit, tow is driving up.
Right, we want to climb out, at least initially, something like 6,000. Constraints, my side, nav and airports, your side. Perhaps push the range out to 80 and all, which is still just 40 from the mid to the end. At least on that style of view, everything there looks good. APU bleed, turn that on as soon as the APU's up and running. And in theory, just double check that the APU gen is on before I pull the ground power off. And it is. And if we come back to the electric, I assume that confirms as well. And it is. Alright, so with that, let's pull out the ground.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Okay. Connect ground services. Let's get rid of these physical connections so this thing can start pushing us. We'll put the beacon light on. Come on then. Lifting us up. Do you know, in like the 100 times or whatever it is I've flown in an airliner, I never realised until playing this that these trucks actually lift the nose wheel up. I know it's not far, but I never knew that. I never noticed. I always felt like a clunk and a movement. I just assumed it was they were attaching this big thing and that's what the movement was. I never realised, no, they're actually lifting you up a tiny bit. I'm sure somebody knew all along, but I never did. All right, let's release parking brakes.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
There he goes. Looks like he was deciding for a moment or two which way to go. Let's jump back inside then. Start a switch on. Give ourselves a squawk like this. And we'll start number 2 and 3. Go back to the automatic page there. A340 being capable of a dual start off the APU. Austin's food, stop there, pal. We've got a wide body coming through on a special mission. No, 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 no. Oh my goodness. I want to file a report, get him to ring a number. I'm not sure if the guys driving the lorries get a phone number to ring and all if they misbehave. But if they do, that dude needs to be ringing a number. Engines coming up then, 2 and 3, EGT coming up, N3's rising fuel flow is going in, and sounds like the gens have come on then. And there's the Avail 2 and 3. We see the auto trim doing its thing, and with that 4 and number 1 can come up and all. We'll get the predictive wind shear on here, leave the system off. Auto trim there, complete. I think we said, did we say flap? We did. We said flaps 2 for takeoffs, and so let's just wait for that. Auto brake RTO, get that on. And there we got
Operation complete. Go ahead and set the parking brake.
Alright, parking brake set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
So there we see 1 and 4 are Avail, and with that we're all up and running. Engine starter switch back to norm. Let's go ahead, go flaps 2, 1, 2. And we'll do our flight controls check while we're waiting. Forward, neutral, aft, neutral, if nothing else, just for me to check that my joystick's plugged in right, as well as my pedals. Left press, right press, that nothing's come loose. We'll give the lady down below a wave. Rolling left, neutral, rolling right, neutral, and with that flight controls checks complete. We've got our nose wheel steering back, so she must have pulled the pin. Tell you what else, let's see if we can fold this armrest out the way and put the...
disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have fun up there.
Put the taxi cam on. It's still a little dark and this thing's basically atrocious at night, but as it gets a little lighter, that becomes actually very good for taxiing, especially when you want to check are your wheels in the lines and whatever. Perhaps we'll have another look at that in a few minutes when we touch and go somewhere as it continues to get lighter. Just waiting for it. Now, it should be a woman, right? Because we've been listening to a woman the entire time. And so let's have a look. Does that sound like it was... Well, let's not go there. Let's leave that one there. I always risk upsetting one when I talk about stuff like that. Alright, taxi lights on. Turn lights on. And with that, parking brakes can disappear. Looks like she's crashed into that luggage truck. Plot thickens. An idle thrust enough there to get us going underway. Let's make it a bit quicker. Spoilers, will arm those. Blue to do. Takeoff config check, will do that. Passes all normal. We've got weather radar to go. We'll put that on my side. Weather is now on my side. Another takeoff config check, and this time all blue remains blue. So this is the runway here already, and I'm not sure if it doesn't matter that you don't wait 5 minutes for these particular engines, or if it's just something that TOLIS hasn't simulated. I've never ever had a problem with starting the engines and taking off quickly. It's something that the flight factor does simulate, and you'll lose an engine if you don't wait for it to warm up properly, which is, again, when different modules tout realism, it's something that I'd like them to be realistic then, and that seems to be a relatively straightforward sort of thing to do. Swing it right round, seeing as it's such a long thing. I was looking online today for a Concorde update, right? Because that thing came out at, and again, I'm talking about the X-Plane 12 version here, came out around Christmas time. It could be in New Year's, it could have been between the years, it was around then. And so I really thought, with it having been out at least a couple of months by now, surely there's going to have been an update to it. And there wasn't. No update. So I was a little disappointed with that. I just realised I didn't get rid of the APU. Well, we've done it now. As we line up on the runway, we've got all the lights on, strobes on. And again, not one for slaving over the checklists, at least not in the sim. And with that, line up, and with no plan, let's roll. Runway doesn't look very level. Look at the artificial horizon. Winding up the engines, they're stable. We'll start the clock and all. And there's Flex 45. Now look at this, because we just made up the numbers, we've got some sort of trim pitch CG disagree. We'll see if we can figure that out during the climb out. Clearly, in real life, that's an abort right there. V1, there's rotate based on the numbers we made up. And we're up. And away. A little sluggish on the initial roll, so perhaps my rotate speed was a few knots low. But other than that, cannot tell that the rest of it was just made up. Wheels in then, and we're at above safe flap retract speed. Let's go flaps 1, and already a throttle back. And we'll turn the transponder on and all. Automatic. Tara, and like that the MC disappears. And so yeah, trying to get as high as fast as we can before we start accelerating, which I think we said was 3,500 feet. I guess because populated area, right? Who knows? Just have a flyby, get an idea of exactly how slow or fast we're going. Pretty slow again. Into the protective sort of zone there, but we're well above the height now, so I'm going to start nosing over. I'm gonna, you know, seeing as we're messing around, let's see exactly, because again, the thing about Airbus being Airbus is it protects you from doing stuff that in the Boeing you get to do, right? So, for example, I put the stick all the way over to the left, the aircraft rolls to the left, but it won't let me roll too far. And there it is, it's blocked. It won't let me go further. If I pull back on the stick while we're descending, it won't let me rip the wings off. I can't stall it. I can't loop it. Let's pull it back as far as we can go. And there's the protection. Look at that. 30. What's that? About 31 degrees, maybe. Back to 30. And I'm just going to keep pulling the stick back. Currently got about 8,000 feet a minute climb. Speed dropping off as you'd expect. Just keep holding it there. We're in the yellow, and at any moment now, I'll just move the camera a little bit over. Before we get into that stall, despite me not letting go, it's just going to stop me. We're right there. We're right on the edge. And there's Alpha Floor boxing in. Engines go to full power. Despite what I've set. And it's still not going into the stall. It's hanging right on the edge. Like if you had to climb out of a canyon or whatever, this is what you'd want to be. In the fog, you've got your terrain warnings. This is climbing incredibly well. Let's get a flyby on that. Oh my goodness. And let's dump the nose. And release the stick, completely let go. And of course, Airbus being like a drone. Those of you that have, I got the Phantom 4 Pro drone, and I must be talking about 6 or 7 years ago now. And when you let go of the controls, the drone literally just stops what it's doing and then freezes in the air, no matter if there's wind or anything. And if you've ever flown it and the wind is gusting side to side, it's incredible to see the drone basically twitching side to side as it fights the wind, but the thing itself stays completely still. And it's kind of what happens here. And I realize the plane can't stay still because it's flying, but in terms of the way it points, it just stays still. And that, again, it is a bit of a magic. Let's put the auto throttle back on. Back to normal mode. There we go. All right, we've cleaned up. We're at 11,000 feet. And with there just been a new X-plane update when I loaded up today, seems to be a little bit of flickering, a very, very warm red sunrise. Some weird little bits of here and there. Seems to be a cockpit view kind of a thing. Whatever happened to the UFO? Do you remember when X-Plane was really early access, X-Plane 12? Every time you flew somewhere, there was a bleeding UFO following you around. I guess that must have been just some sort of little teaser for the early access stage, because I haven't seen it for a while. Alright, getting rid of the spoilers then. Flaps are in. Put the volume back on. Let's turn off some of the protection stuff then and see how that interacts, or how that affects things. Let's have a little look. Turn that off. Turn that one off. In fact, we'll open all of these covers and see what they do. Flight controls, secondaries, fault. It's a bunch of spoilers. Can we still mess it around? Response speed is a little slower because there's not as many boards coming up on the wings. We can still be creative. Primaries, turn them all off. Manual pitch only, trim only. Wow.
No.
All the flight controls, like we turned them off.
No.
But we can trim manually. Go on then. Can we steer the plane with rudder? We can. Okay, so no flight controls at all. Turn that down. Bit of a stall there. Let's just see. So if I steer left and right, yeah, look at that. Nothing happening. In fact, although the rudder is moving as I steer left and right, but it's not actually doing anything. If I stand on the rudder pedals, there you see it actually does something. So that's a little bug there from Tolis, that moving the stick moves the rudder, but it doesn't do anything moving the rudder pedals, although now it is. Right, let's trim back. So I'm moving my stick around. It's literally not doing anything. Whoa, watch it. Look at this. It's not doing anything at all. But if I use the pedals, I can steer the plane. And if I use trim, I can make it go up and down. Now imagine this is the situation you find yourself in. For whatever reason, is it possible to land? I don't know. I'm going to try. There was a story in real life where a pilot, basically the hydraulic system broke and he lost all hydraulics, including the secondaries, because they were like all sharing a system somewhere and all the fluid leaked somehow. And the way that he crash landed, he had 3 engines. The crew worked together and they were basically splitting the throttles between all 3 engines to try and steer it and get the speed right to make it go up and down and stuff. And despite being at like 30,000 feet or whatever it was when the problem began, about half of them survived that. Now you think a plane that has literally got no controls, an airliner at 30,000 feet, like for sure that's a write-off. And to think that half of them survived, including the pilot himself actually, was kind of a miracle. And it was one of those that was like, oh, this is a really shining example of crew resource management, because there was some technician or engineer on the flight, and he came up to the flight deck to help out, and yeah, quite something to land. Again, they had no flight controls at all. They were literally just using the throttles, and they yeah. Alright, so let's see then. So using rudder pedal, mind you, I could split the throttles a bit. Let's see what happens then if I split the throttles. So I'm just going to give the left 2 because I've only got 2 throttles, so I've just got left and right. So engines 1 and 2, these 2, I'm powering up. And as you'd expect, yeah, a roll to the right. Great. Now I'm going to rudder to the left. Might be able to do this. Let's see. Interesting. Again, no flight controls whatsoever. Alright, so to set ourselves up then, I do need a little bit of information. And then we'll turn them back on. I assume we can just do that. Arrivals, just whichever ILS. No star, no via. No trans. Boom. Alright, we need to be, I guess, behind us really to the right. We'll trim down and we'll speed up a little bit. That's a nice golden sun there through the clouds at last. I noticed that the maximum speed is much lower on this since we turned all of these things off. I guess that's like a built-in safety margin thing. Pitch, mechanical backup. Maneuver with care. Yeah, especially considering we can't steer. In fact, if we put... In fact, there is the flight control, so there you see it. The whole lot is off. Look, all of them are off. We've got the rudder, we've got the manual pitch trim, and that is all. No ailerons, no flaps, no flapperons, no spoilerons, no none of it. Actually not as difficult to fly as you might think. I'll tell you what, the TOLIS is one of the better modules when it comes to the amount of faults you can simulate, but again, the best one out of them all, at least out of what I own, is the Flight Factor 767. Now granted, it is also the most expensive, but that has got the best fault scenario simulator, if you want to call it a fault scenario simulator, because you can not only set things to happen at a certain time, but you can say, I want a random thing to happen at a certain time, but then roll the dice as to whether it'll happen or not, or it might happen between 1 and 5 minutes, or it might be any one of a number of things that will happen, and then if this happens, wait a certain amount of time. And then what you can do is this very complicated fault situation, if you want to call it that. You can actually share that as a file with other people who've got the flight factor and sort of set up again. And with the ability to add so much random stuff, it's not like, oh, you know you're going to get an engine failure at V1, because you can put too much random stuff in there. And I know you can randomize certain other faults, but often, like with something like the TOLIS, if you randomize a fault, it could be anything from something where you're not even going to get a caution message coming on because it's something so insignificant you're not going to notice, like the secondary backup fuel pump maybe it's got a faulty sensor or something, all the way to an engine fire or something as extreme as that. And as far as I'm aware, there's no way in the TOLIS to choose between which one of those extremes you want if it's random, unless you specifically pick which one that you want. And if you do that, well, then you know exactly what's coming. So it's I do like the ability to choose randomly how severe the type of fault is, as well as just are you going to have one. Yeah, so I'm literally just using trim and rudder and obviously my throttles because, again, this whole stick doesn't work. I mean, there's the proof. I feel like I've got to sort of keep showing that because there's going to be somebody somewhere that says something otherwise. Not that I care what some... You get those, and I don't care what they say, but... I guess anybody skipping through the video or joining late, I'm doing it for them. Alright, so speeding up a little bit. Now, one of the other things with the Airbus is that when you power up or reduce, normally the fly-by-wire sorts that out. So let's see, let's try and level the horizon-ish. We're trending down a little bit. I'm just trimming back a bit. So if I was to add power now... Yeah, look at that, how the nose raises up. And if I chop the power, in theory, the nose should dip. And again, normally Airbus dampens all that out for you. This is what you happen when you're really flying a plane, like on Boeing or any of the others, really. Right, 3,000 feet or less coming in there. We'll put the LS on just to give us a little bit of guidance. Too concerned about the height, at least not initially. Top priority is to try and line up, see if this is even possible. And with regards to flaps and anything, I mean, they're not going to work, are they? Just realised because we turned everything off in that regard. Zoom in a little bit to try and help us line up. So right boot going in. And the rudder a lot more responsive when it comes to rolling because we're slower. The slower you go, the better the rudder becomes at rolling the aircraft. And at one point, the rudder becomes more powerful than the ailerons, assuming that you have ailerons that work, which we don't at the minute. And that is known as crossover angle of attack for those that are interested in that sort of thing. So that's where my trim is right now. And even if the flaps would work, which I'm not sure that they would, I mean, look at it, it's all off, but I'm not going to risk trying it regardless because we're pretty stable, we're pretty light, and I just want to... If this was like real life and these were real failures and I'm set up like this, I wouldn't risk rocking the boat, pulling out flaps that may or may not work, that may cause an upset to the center of gravity that then I can't recover from. Like, why would you risk doing such a thing? So I'm just going to keep going like this and risk a very much hotter landing or a higher angle of attack than I'd normally be comfortable with. I mean, you can see here, weather's pretty good. We've got a nice, solid, steady headwind. So why not? I'm just going to hit the approach button. It's not even going to give us directional info. Put a bit of power on. Yeah, as soon as I put power on, nose comes up, which is real nice. I mean, that basically proves that all of this stuff's disconnected, because otherwise Airbus sorts that out, doesn't it? Normal law and all that good stuff. I mean, it says here alternate law, but we haven't even got that, because again, none of the flight control systems are working. Right, runway in sight, chop the throttle. Hey, hola, hello XP Boeing Titus Shaves. Nice to see you all. I wonder if this can be done.
2000.
Trim wheel, rudder and throttle, that's it.
Terrain.
And for anybody joining late, there you can see moving the stick does absolutely nothing.
Pull up. Terrain.
Right, dump in the gear then.
Terrain.
And for some reason that makes the aircraft pitch up quite a bit.
Terrain.
Tell you what, it's actually... Although it's easy overall to steer with the rudder, when you're trying to be precise, i.e. line up with a runway, it's a lot harder than it seemed to be before. And I'm starting to get almost like this Dutch roll effect going, which is very dangerous, which is what all the yaw dampers are for on the modern airlines, to prevent Dutch rolls. And it was sort of starting there, although I think I've gotten control of it again. Trimming. A little hot, but I've got no ability to slow down. Again, I've got no spoilers or anything.
500.
I guess this would be a go-around in real life.
Terrain.
Take it as a practice.
300.
Tell you what, pretty much in line considering I've got no flight controls beyond the rudder.
100.
Trim, 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 power.
40. 30.
Oh, that hurt.
10.
And so, yeah, the bottom kind of dropped out at the end there. Let's get these systems turned back on. And like that, I've got a plane back. Get rid of the flight directors and put bird on. Now, there was something else up here that let you disable... I've forgotten what it was called. You could disable the protections but without losing your flight controls. The normal law stuff and all the rest of it. I guess one easy way to do it is to turn these systems off, which I may do, because I just want to see how aerobatic is this plane. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3. In fact, we may be able to put these onto ATT. Let's try that. Just so we get an artificial horizon. There we go. Protection lost. Right, in theory, we should be able to roll the Airbus now, and we should have all flight controls back. Let's just check that's the case. It is. There we see them. Right. Try roll it.
2,500.
Over we go. Oh my goodness, it's taken a long time. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Why, she really don't like rolling. Oh dear. Oh, man, oh man, oh man. That was not easy. Oh my goodness, we were so close to crashing as well.
Terrain. 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 Terrain.
I'm not sure, it was like, as we got halfway round, it seemed to have nothing left to want to roll with. Let's try with speed, if that's the same. Roll, I mean, the stick's all the way over. Oh, this time it's going to keep going. Perhaps I ran out of speed. Look at the vertical speed, man. I guess they have to switch some of these things off. You know, when they throw these things around at air shows sometimes, I'm not sure if you've ever seen them throw airliners around at an air show, but either the cockpit is ringing and binging the entire time, or they turn it all off. I don't know.
Pull
2,500.
up. Pull up.
Bit of side slip.
Up. Pull. Terrain. Terrain. Pull up.
1,000.
Up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up.
Why, man, this thing conserves energy.
500.
Terrain.
I've got the boards out, and I'm side slipping. And look how long it's taken to drop speed.
Terrain. 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 Terrain.
I've still got full side slip in. I've got full rudder on.
Terrain. 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 Terrain.
Boards away.
Terrain. 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 Terrain.
See what a stall is on this, because we never normally get to have one.
Terrain. 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 Terrain.
Oh, and a wing drop as well. Dump the nose, power on, rudder to recover.
Sink rate.
Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull
1,000.
Pull up. Pull up.
500. 400.
Pull up.
300.
Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up.
Like a fighter jet.
Pull up.
300.
Pull. Terrain. Terrain.
200.
Terrain. 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 Terrain.
Storm.
Terrain. Terrain. Terrain.
100.
Pull. Terrain. 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 Terrain.
Too low. Gear. Too low. Gear.
Too low.
Just so we don't keep hearing about that jip whiz.
$1,000. 500. 400. 300. 200. 100.
I think these things can withstand a G of like, I don't know, 2.5 G or something. If it's empty, I guess it's more like 3.5 G because it weighs like half as much. But I'm thinking the way I'm throwing it around, we'd have probably ripped something off. See how quick this thing can stop. Auto brake maximum.
2,500. 2,000.
Tell you what, it's easy to fly even with all the protections off. And for those who've never flown an Airbus without the protections, it does feel, and you'd expect so, but I'm just saying, it does feel like a Boeing. Ignore the fact that you've got a side stick instead of a the way it flies, the different behaviors at the different speeds and all that, it feels like one. Now some people are going to say, well, duh, that's obvious, it's got no, you've turned all the fly-by-wire stuff off, it's going to behave like one, but I still find it impressive that they've simulated it to that extent. Slats going out. Put some flaps out and all. Dump the gear. It's surprisingly stable, even without all its bells and whistles. It really is.
$1,000.
Flaps 3. I don't think we've got landing speed, but it doesn't matter. Flaps full.
$500.
Boards are armed. Again with auto brakes max. Let's see how quick we can stop this thing.
$200. One speed. 50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10, 5.
Well, there you are. Jeez, man. Not bad at all, considering I limped in. I landed about halfway there. Wow, okay. I reckon that could improve if I made a rule that you have to get over the... Come on, you have to get over the line with the piano keys. This line here, this white line. If I make that the rule, if I basically pretend that would have been a crash and burn. That is insane, though. Wow. What a plane, man. What a sim.
Speed, speed, speed. Speed, speed, speed. Speed.
Absolutely, DB Vetter. What I'm impressed. I mean, clearly I'm flying it like a buffoon, but the way that they've simulated it, I'm really surprised, because oftentimes I find that simulators of all planes, all simulators, they sort of try to get 99% of the plane to fly correctly for 99% of the time. And clearly I'm going outside of that 99% here. Now, is it flying exactly as it would? Obviously not. They can't possibly simulate every single molecule of air and all the rest of it. But it is behaving far more as you'd expect than anything else that I've flown for quite some time. Often things get really bizarre when you get into that 1%, just because the flight sims, they just can't simulate it as well. It's just not possible. You know, like when you enter a stall or that kind, like they can't simulate it very well. They can try, but this is mind-blowing. You're just learning it. Well, TP Veta, this is it's a very easy plane to fly once you get the basics down. And it's, you know, to consider how big it is and how easy it is. I mean, honestly, it's easier to fly than a Cessna or anything. I wonder if we can open the window in flight. I'm going to try. But before I do, I'm just going to take a look at the conditioning page, because you actually see the status. So there's the temperature inside, 72, 72, 71, 71, 72. We're in Fahrenheit. So let's see if I can open this window. What's that going to do to the temperature? Assuming I can. I have to get rid of this tablet first, or how's this work? Or maybe it's just not going to let me because we're flying. Perhaps it's not going to let me because I'm in flight. Fair enough. Was this the... Yeah, this was the same one. All right. I'm looking for the aircraft carrier. There's usually one around. I'll tell you what, if I go on map view, there it is. Aircraft carrier to my north, and I think that's going to be where I end up. So I need to fly 355, something like that. Where are we here? I need my standby compass on. Sure, there's a light. There we go. Standby compass. There we see it. And I'm basically flying north-east, so I need to be a little more left. This is... I mean, this is the thing that I know, and I know they can't help it, and certainly if you've never flown anything before in real life, it's like impossible to sort of say. But this is why people fly X-Plane versus Flight Simulator 2020, when clearly Flight Sim 2020's got the better graphics, it's got the bigger community, it's got more modules and that. So why would anybody fly this one? And it's like, well... the realism. It's like the only thing it's got going for it is X-Plane really is the realism, if you think about it. In every other regard, it takes second place pretty much. How are we doing? We still need to be left a little more. Speed up. Ignore the overspeed. I'm just going to get there quick as I can. Full power. And I don't think you can burn the engines out on this. And again, not saying that that's realistic either, but I've never burnt the engines out. And I've firewalled it, and I've sped up time. Oh, look at the protection coming in. It's pitching up to protect. Okay. I'll stop that coming on again because I'm sick of hearing it now. How are we doing with regards to this carrier? Well, it looks to be about 18 miles ahead of us. So we'll start descending and hopefully we'll see it when we drop through the clouds. Yeah, the SimBrace integration is really good. DB better on this. The best integration I've seen is the A320 for Flight Sim 2020. That's the best integration I've ever seen. Now this is is a close second, but that is something else. Problem with again, it's just they've simulated everything on that A320. They've got it all, every switch and everything. But again, they're trying to work with a simulator that isn't, so when it comes to the speeds and the power ratios and everything, they get all that wrong, and it's not even their fault. And if you take a look actually at the McDo on the A320 in Flight Sim 2020, you can go through like advanced settings, and it's got all of these, I'm wanting to call them secret settings, but they're not secret. You can see them, but they're basically all these little cheats and quirks, if you want to call it that, where they're basically trying to trick the flight simulator into behaving the way that it should do, because it doesn't. And I've never known a module do that before. And yet there's pages of settings on the Flight Sim 2020 A320, if you take a look, that go through, or limiting the spool of the engine number 1, limiting the and then there'll be something else and something else, and it's just rows and rows where they're trying to make up for the, whether it's Microsoft or a Sobo or whoever's responsible. But it seems to me that somebody there made a decision that said, right, we can go realistic, or we can make it a little easier and try and get a wider number of players playing the game. And I guess they thought, well, we're a business, we'll go for the numbers and graphics. I guess if they had gone for realism, there wouldn't be anybody left playing X-Plane. Should be dropping out right in front of this carrier momentarily. He's about 10 miles away, so as soon as we drop through the clouds, we should see him. Get rid of the mouse. I don't think it's possible to land an A340 on the carrier, but you know what? I'm going to give it a go. And then that's going to be the end of the stream. We shall see. I think I can see something up 12 there. If I turned all these systems on, all the built-in protections of the Airbus, I find when you're doing aerobatics and stuff, it would hinder you, it would not help you. Night, Helen. I will take a look at the message in a bit. I'm just landing and then that'll be it. Kind of deceptive, the distance to that carrier. It's been like a dot forever. But we're just inside 6 miles now. Looks to be we're about 5 miles. Oh, we've been asked to call the ball by the carrier.
Overpowered. You're overpowered. You're high. You're high.
Can we turn this thing off?
High. You're high. You're high.
Shut up!
You're high.
Oh my goodness.
You're high.
2,000.
You're high.
There we go.
You're high. You're high.
I know, but I haven't done my overhead brake yet.
You're high. You're high. You're high. You're high. You're high. You're high.
So we are about 10 or 1,200 feet parallel with the boat. BRC as they call it. Take a look out the left. Deck looks good. we'll commence the overhead brake. Hook down, but we don't have one, so just gonna have to hope that the reversers are working well. Oh dear. Right, max auto brake for sure. Arm the boards. Gear down, flaps 1. And because I've got no working, I can't see when I need to roll out. Oh, there we can see the trail of the boat. Looks like we've got about 20 degrees or so to go. We're below the eyebrows, so flaps 2. Downwind. Perhaps slightly extending. Flaps 3. Flaps full. Going to start a slow turn into final so we can see what's going on. I may have to switch seats just to get a better view of the turn. I'm not sure actually. Maybe that would be the better way to do it. Yeah. Alright, now you can start with your call the ball and all that good stuff. Maybe he's going to do it once we get back in line with the boat. There we see it. Alright, I'd rather be a little low
1,000.
than too high and too fast. Hang off the engines a little bit.
Speed, speed, speed. 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 Speed, speed.
If I split the throttles with the flight control, does it cancel it?
Speed, speed.
Well, not really. We get this nice pirouette action going.
Speed,
Your action.
speed, speed, speed. Speed, speed.
Come on. Moment of truth then, is it possible? Well, I reckon if you set up a massive wind, it will be. If you basically cheat, right? Put in a custom wind, but I've not done so. Cabin, check. Ding dong. They're happy. All green. We're armed.
Speed.
Auto brake maximum.
Speed. Speed, speed, speed. Speed, speed, speed. Speed, speed, speed. Speed.
Alright, Airbus, we need to be slow. Comes with landing. Especially when you're landing on a carrier with no hook.
Speed, speed, speed. Speed, speed, speed. Speed, speed, speed. Speed, speed, speed. Speed, speed, speed.
Nice angle of attack there. About 10 degrees.
Speed, speed, speed.
Right, let's begin descending.
Speed, speed.
Down we go.
Speed, speed.
I'm going to have to use the full length of the deck because I've got no hook.
Speed, speed. Speed, 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 speed, speed.
Call the ball.
Speed,
ILS
speed,
108.11.
Call the ball!
Speed. Speed, 500. Speed.
You're high.
Speed.
Oh, get rid of this dang thing again.
Speed.
You're
400.
high.
Speed. Speed.
You're high.
Speed. Speed.
I don't think I'm high at all because I've got a huge amount of aircraft behind me.
Speed. Speed.
I'm not waving off, I'm landing.
Wave off.
Speed. Speed. Speed.
Wave off.
200. Speed. Speed.
Wave off.
Speed. Speed.
Wave off.
Speed. Speed.
Wave off.
Speed. 100.
Power.
50. 40. 30. 20. Retard.
No, 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 no! No! Oh no! Toggle replay. I guess that's why you don't land A340s or top aircraft carriers. I hope that'll show a replay. Seems like we might have a little bit of luck. I mean, it kept saying we're high, but I'd be surprised if the back wheels even made it over the back of the boat. Yeah, look at that. See the problem there? It says we're high, but we're not at all. I had no idea we were hung that far behind the boat. And so, in other words, listen to what they're... or don't listen to them. And that's why we bounced up over the boat. Clearly, in real life, that would have blown up, but... ouch. So, alas, ping-pong physics flicks us up over the top of the boat. At least we didn't end up down the bottom of the elevator. There is that. Silver lining and all. I tried to get the reversers in, but it just weren't happening because at this point the plane still thought it bounced, so you can't unlock the reversers. And looks like we reconnect about there just in time for everything to be too late. We don't even get the nose back down on the deck until it's too late. In fact, I think... yeah, the nose didn't even get to touchdown at all. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, I hope you enjoyed it. Ta-ra!